Mine may seem awkward. My mom's friends are lesbian. 10 years ago, all three came to me and asked if I would donate. Men who have sold, donated sperm and gave permission for the child to contact you at 18. What is your story? So, I'm not the dad, but the kid. So, my bio dad donated sperm and gave permission to be identified. Didn't even have to be after 18. In counting, because we're not sure if we've found all of us yet. There are 53 half-siblings, all his kids. My full sister and I didn't know we were donor babies until I was a freshman in college, and her a junior in high school. It was a few more years before we found out the scope of our family. As such, I never got to meet the man as he passed away in 2018, but I've been getting to know my half-siblings and I'm sad to have missed him. He apparently engaged in annual reunions and was interested in getting to know all of the kids if they, and their families, were open to it. We all support each other basically by default even though he didn't grow up together. What's even wilder about him is that he got national news coverage for something besides his giant flock of kids. The guy got married to a woman the day he met her as a competition to be his bride in the Mall of America. It was apparently a heartfelt story and the two of them had a 20-something-year marriage with 4 kids that they raised themselves. The Mall of America even has a plaque with his name on it now, so you can go find him if you really try. The man was a weirdo, but in the best way. He was kind and generous with his time and really seemed to care about all of his kids, or at least the ones he knew about. Oh hey, I can answer this. I'm not a donor, but I was donor conceived, along with my sister, same donor. I had a great dad and never had any desire to find out who my donor was, but I was always curious about siblings, especially when I learned there's no legal limit on how many children you can father when you donate sperm in the US. Well, 123andMe test later, and the first result on the top of the list is a half-sister in Texas. We get in contact, realize we have a ton in common, and it sparked a fire in her to find more siblings. She took an ancestry DNA test, and the top of that list was a man in California, listed as father. She got in touch with him right away. Turns out he's a fantastic guy. He was adopted himself and also got in contact with his birth mom as an adult, so he had been on our side of the situation and was very open and willing to talk. His wife has been super supportive of us meeting too. He has 3, organically made kids of his own. I was especially ecstatic to learn that I'm a big sister, plus we've since found 3 more half-siblings who've all been very cool and excited to find each other. At this point, I've met all but one of them in person, and I got to meet my biological grandmother too. TL, Dr. I went from having a dad and 1 sibling to having 2 dads and 8 siblings over the span of a couple of years. It's been pretty cool. Smile. My younger bro donated multiple times unbeknownst to me. Years later my wife and I did Ancestry.com to get an idea of how diverse our backgrounds were and wham! Started getting contacted by lots of people, over a dozen, saying we were close relatives. At first I was confused and asked the early ones about their parentage. They all had a similar stories. Single mom went to a SPRM bank. Didn't take long to guess what happened. Call my brothers and asked. Younger one fessed up and said yes, he went multiple times. In fact, they told him he had to stop donating because there was a statistical probability his progeny could meet and date, at least they seemed ethical. I asked if it was okay if I gave them his contact, he was fine with it. The weird thing is that they all had his face, like one look at them and it was obvious who their father was. Anyway, this went on for a couple of years and they all connected with each other. Seems there is over 20 now, probably more. He has met a couple of them, but it was all casual. The whole thing is super weird to the rest of family to have all these close relatives who somehow are part of the family but then again not really. Obligatory not me, but I don't think I'll get another chance to tell this story. An ex-girlfriend of mine has an uncle who had donated sperm back in the 90s. At some point, he started reaching out to the parents of his biological children to see if they wanted to meet their bio dad, and now, every summer, he flies out all the children who wanted to be in contact to Yosemite, California for a week of camping. I remember the first, and only, time I went, I was shocked to know that at least 10 of his children come every year from all around the USA to spend time with him for a week. Apparently, the year I went with them was also the year that another one of his bio children got in contact with the uncle for the first time and spent the week out near Yosemite with all of her half-brothers/sisters. I don't keep in contact with the uncle or my ex anymore, but I can assume that more of his children have contacted him each year so they can spend time getting to know their bio dad. That's a future movie plot right there. I'm a child born via sperm donation. At one point in my life, I did tons of research to find him. I also did Ancestry and found some half-siblings but no donor. But I thought about it more and looked over the records I did have, from the donor company. He was a college student at the time and asked not to be contacted. He probably has a family now who may or may not know about his past donation, and my gut feeling is that he did it for the money. So, I've decided to let it go. Not me, but a friend of my father-in-law. Guy is 86 and has been dealing with cancer for decades. He lost the will to live until one day he gets a call from his supposed daughter. He was a donor in the 70s, and with Ancestry.com they were able to reconnect. They were so sweet and have totally involved him in their lives. He has grandchildren he didn't know about and entire family when he thought he would die alone. It's just a beautiful story. I get happy whenever I hear it because he is such a nice man. Funny enough, he has been cancer-free almost exactly since they connected. They do say attitude is a huge recovery factor. Somewhat related, but I've got a brother from another mother and have a happy story to share. My dad had a kid with a lady in the 80s, she didn't want to keep it and he didn't want to be a single dad, so he was put up for adoption and they split up and go about their days. There's likely a lot more to the story, but I've only ever been told my dad's side, so I'll leave it at that. Fast forward 30 years, my dad has settled down and now has a family of 5 kids with my mom. He gets a call from a non-profit asking if he'd provide his information if his kid wants to reach out. He does and goes about his day. Fast forward a few months, he gets a call from his son, initially wanting to learn about possible health causes and curiosity. He ended up getting adopted by an amazing family and doing very well for himself. He wants to come to town and meet my dad. Dad has 5 awkward conversations, his kids explaining we had another brother, and he was coming up to visit. Note, a running insult when we were growing up was calling each other adopted, which pissed Dad off a lot. Lol. Fast forward 2 weeks, there was a graduation this weekend and we're having all the family over, so was a good time for him to come up and meet the guy. Great person, hit it off and still are close with all the brothers. Everything worked out pretty well, all things considered. He's a spitting image of Dad and really great friend. His parents are amazing people as well. Really lucky to have him in my life. I'm a donor child, but the man didn't give permission for me to get in touch. I've always been a bit curious, particularly as we now do the same job, but more about any family history of disease which might be relevant, although I assume nothing major or he wouldn't have been able to donate. I think I would have reached out when I was 19-20, but I wouldn't anymore if I had the choice. I call the donor my father, but my dad will always be the one who raised me and played with me and loved me even though he died when I was young. He's the one that matters, but I am grateful to those who donate, enabling my family to have a child without a genetic illness. You would be surprised by how much genes incorporate into your lifestyle and even mannerisms. I met my biological father when I was 25 after never meeting or seeing him my whole life. The little things were so weird. We sat in a chair the same way, we nervously bit the skin next to our fingernails at the same time. The first drink I ever ordered was a White Russian because I thought it was interesting. Lo and behold, when we met, he and his family bring White Russians to the lake because it's their favorite drink. I've kept a $2 bill in my wallet since I was 14 for no reason at all. After we talked, he has had a $2 bill in his wallet since he was a kid too. Just really weird things, coincidences. I was a donor, and when this happened to me, it was okay. 4 separate offspring at various times over the course of about 6 months contacted me, all just as they turned 18 and records were open to them. It was cool for me to see pictures of them and how much they looked like me. It was also good to hear the stories from their parents of how I helped them conceive a much-needed child, which I really appreciated. But that was all. A few nice, polite emails were exchanged, some kindnesses, and then we stopped emailing. I didn't want to or expect more. I'm just glad to know they existed, and that they got to connect with their biological heritage. I supposedly, as far as the donor system estimates, have a lot more out there, but I expect these are the only ones that will contact me, since I assume most of them will want to do it as soon as they can, and all of my donations happened within an 18-month span. Mine may seem awkward. My mom's friends are lesbian. 10 years ago, all 3 came to me and asked if I would donate. Why the hell not? Lovely people and desperate to be parents. After the second turkey-based insemination, they got pregnant. They have a beautiful little girl. I went on to have my own 2 daughters, and they then came to me 2 years ago and asked again. This time, it was a bigger decision, but my partner knew the full story and was more than happy to allow us to try a second time, which was again successful. They had a boy this time. We've spoke extensively and we all have no issue with them knowing I'm the donor. My kids will also know when the time comes. We agreed that we would run off the whole I have no input other than biological. Obviously we won't be able to stop the whole who's my father, but we have agreed that when the time does come, they will be sat down with my own 2 children as well, and he explained that the situation of I'm not a father to them and that it was purely to allow them to have children and that they aren't missing out by having 2 moms rather than a mom and dad. It's hard to type out, but I'm sure you guys will get it. Thankfully, they look nothing like my own children. That could be awkward considering we live in the same neighborhood. Also, I have no attachment or need to be anything to these children. May seem horrible to say, but this was my gift to 2 amazing parents, and they are doing fantastic. I don't need to be there for them. Edit. Thanks for all the kind words, but really, I'm just helping 2 people live the best life they can. I'm a simple man. If I can help someone, I will. Life's difficult as it is. People do good things to help me, I do the same for others. We should all be helping each other where we can, no matter how big or small the gesture. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more quality content. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions. Goodbye.